Update: my in-laws pressured me into signing a marriage contract. They were ecstatic when I inherited $20 million. We exchanged vows, simple yet heartfelt. When the officiant pronounced us man and wife and Tom kissed me, there was polite applause. It all felt right despite everything. At the reception, which was really just a small gathering at a nearby restaurant, Tom's parents were distant. Tom's father, Mr. White, made a short toast. "We're here to celebrate Tom and Chloe," he began, his voice devoid of warmth. "May your union bring you the happiness you seek." It was so formal and cold that it might as well have been a business transaction. But I focused on the people who were genuinely happy for us, like Lisa, who was already on her third glass of champagne and narrating how we'd met to anyone who would listen. The day ended, and with it, our simple but meaningful wedding wrapped up. We drove to our new home, Tom's place, where I'd move in. It was a nice house, not too far from his parents', which I soon found out meant his mom, Mrs. White, was over a lot. Each time she visited, she made it a point to casually mention how everything in the house was Tom's and how, in case of a divorce, I couldn't claim any of it. "Remember, Chloe, none of this is yours," she'd say, her voice dripping with faux kindness that made my skin crawl. I would just smile awkwardly, trying to hide how uncomfortable it made me feel. Tom would laugh it off every time, hugging me slightly. "Mom's just joking around. Don't take her seriously," he'd chuckle, but his laughter never quite reached his eyes. It was clear this was her way of reminding me of my place, making sure I knew that I was an outsider. But I kept hoping things would get better, that maybe, just maybe, Tom would eventually see how his mother's words were chipping away at our newlywed bliss. I tried to make the best of things, focusing on setting up our space, hoping it could feel like ours, not just Tom's. But no matter how hard I tried, Tom's parents, especially his mom, Mrs. White, made it difficult. "Chloe, dear, why don't you rearrange these dishes? They should be organized better," Mrs. White would say during her frequent visits, her tone patronizing as she inspected the kitchen cabinets that I had just tidied up. I would force a polite smile, my hands tightening around the edge of the countertop. "Of course, I'll take care of it," I'd respond, trying to keep the frustration out of my voice. Tom usually shrugged off his mother's comments. "She just likes things a certain way. You know how it is," he'd tell me, dismissing it all too quickly. But it wasn't just about the dishes. It felt like nothing I did was right. One evening, while Tom and I were trying to enjoy a quiet dinner, his dad, Mr. White, dropped by unannounced. "Watching your spending, I hope. Remember, it's Tom's money paying for all this," he commented nonchalantly as he looked over the spread on the table. I bit my lip, feeling the sting of his words. "We're careful with our budget," I said, keeping my voice even. But the digs didn't stop there. Every chance they got, Tom's parents reminded me of my place. "Just make sure you keep the house clean for Tom. He works so hard, he shouldn't have to worry about coming home to a mess," Mrs. White would say, her words laced with venom disguised as concern. And it wasn't just behind closed doors. Even in public, they had a way of belittling me. At a family gathering, I overheard Mrs. White talking to a relative. "You know, Chloe doesn't earn much, pretty much lives off you, doesn't she, Tom?" The interference from Tom's parents didn't stop at comments. They started acting like the house was theirs too. They'd come over, flop down on the sofa, and demand, "Chloe, make us some coffee, will you? Or we're out of snacks. Could you run to the store?" It was as if I had become less of a family member and more of a maid. And Tom, he had changed. He used to be caring and attentive, but now he joined in their laughter. One day, while folding laundry, he said, "You do fold these all wrong, Chloe, just like my mom showed you, remember?" His tone was light, but the criticism stung sharply. His parents laughed along with him, and Mr. White added, "She's got to learn somehow. You can't baby her forever, Tom." The worst part was how Tom criticized everything about me, from the way I managed the house to my choice of clothes. "You're going out in that?" he'd ask, his look one of disapproval as he had my casual jeans and t-shirt. I felt like I was losing not just the battle to win over his parents, but also the man I thought I had married. The man who had once looked at me with love now scrutinized me with the same critical eyes as his parents. Each day grew harder, the atmosphere at home more suffocating. I started to dread waking up in the morning, knowing I'd face another day of veiled insults and open disdain. The stress of living under constant scrutiny and disdain had taken its toll on me. I began losing weight, my nights were restless, and my days were long battles with anxiety. It all came to a head one morning at work when I collapsed right there among the test tubes and beakers in my lab. I woke up in the hospital, the sterile white of the room blinding me at first. I felt a dull ache in my stomach, and my head was spinning as I tried to sit up. A nurse rushed over. "Take it easy, Chloe. You gave us quite a scare," she said, helping me adjust the pillows behind my back. "What happened?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "You passed out at work. They brought you in with severe dehydration and stress-related symptoms," she explained, checking the IV drip that was hooked to my arm. I sighed, the reality of my situation settling in. The door to my room opened, and Lisa walked in, her face etched with concern. "Chloe, I heard what happened. Are you okay?" She rushed to my side, grabbing my hand. "I guess I'm not," I replied, trying to muster a smile. "This is ridiculous, Chloe. You can't go on like this," Lisa said, her voice stern, filled with worry. I knew she was right, but the thought of going back to that house, to face Tom and his parents again, filled me with dread. I just nodded, not trusting my voice. The next day, as I lay there flipping through a magazine, a man in a suit appeared at my doorway. "Chloe Roberts?" he asked, stepping into the room. "Yes, that's me. Can I help you?" I was puzzled. I didn't recognize him. "I'm Mr. Harris, a notary. I have some unexpected news for you. You've been named as the sole heir to your great-uncle's estate. He passed away last month, and it seems you are to inherit $20 million, he announced, holding out a stack of documents. I blinked, sure that I had misheard him. "I'm sorry, come again? Did you say $20 million? "Yes, Miss Roberts, it's all here in the documents. Your great-uncle left everything to you," Mr. Harris confirmed, handing me the papers. I was in shock. But I barely knew him. Nevertheless, he remembered you. "If you have any questions or need assistance with the inheritance process, I'm here to help," he offered. The news was overwhelming. As Mr. Harris left, my mind raced with the implications.